Hello, and welcome to episode 90 of the Inventive Marketing Club. We're here every week to help you build a better marketing strategy. On this week, I'm going to be talking to you about hacking your website with HTML and CSS. If you don't know what those mean, don't worry. We'll be diving into those in a moment. But this topic is actually quite important for anyone who owns a website. So I'm going to be exploring some of the reasons you might want to understand what HTML is, as well as some crafty CSS tricks. So whether you're new to WordPress or you're just managing a complex e-commerce store, I'm pretty sure you're going to find this episode helpful. So what I'm going to do is just dive straight in, and I'm going to use the power of HTML itself to present rather than using Keynote, which I'd normally use. I'm going to dive straight into HTML, and we're going to take everything from here. So first of all, let me click on my link here. What is HTML? Well, let me read from Wikipedia. The hypertext markup language, or HTML, is a standard markup language for documents designed to be displayed in a web browser. It's often assisted by technologies such as cascading style sheets, or CSS, and scripting languages such as JavaScript. So briefly speaking, what HTML does is it holds all of the content for the page. So it's going to be your titles, paragraphs, images. It's the stuff on the page, but not what it looks like. It's not the presentation. Presentation is managed by the CSS. So that's the placement of those elements, the color of the font styles, whether things have borders or backgrounds and so on. And then JavaScript adds on to that presentation and gives you animation, functionality. It can manage sort of advanced clicking events and so on. We're not going to be talking about JavaScript tonight. And to be honest, I don't think I'll do a webinar about JavaScript. It's less relevant really for what we do. However, the reason HTML is relevant is it's good to just understand broadly how the web works, because it helps you when there are problems that need fixing, or at least to understand it if you're working with a web developer, what they're doing. It's also, there's some really useful little tips and tricks I'm going to show you with CSS that will enable you to hack around with your site and get it to do some clever things. Now, I'm going to be talking about WordPress primarily, but you can use a lot of the CSS tricks on Squarespace, Shopify, and other sites as well. So it is handy to know if you just need to do some simple little tricks. But first of all, let's get an understanding of HTML. Oh, just to let you know, there's a couple of interesting links, which I'll make sure are on the post. So just to let you know that Tim Berners-Lee, you might know that name. He was at Olympic. He sort of was part of the Olympic Games when we hosted it, when the UK hosted it. So he actually invented the core of what HTML is, and you can see there's a link to the first website here as well. And also, if you want a timeline of HTML and how it sort of grew out of different generalized markup languages, you can have a look at that as well. But for us, I'm just going to take us into HTML code and give you an example of what it looks like. So on the left-hand side, we have a code block, and this inside that code block is HTML. Now, because I'm a coder, I quite like dark mode, so I've got my code in dark mode, and it just helps it show up more clearly here. And on the right-hand side, we've got the rendered HTML. So this is what the web browser will make of that HTML. So let's look at the content on the left, and I'll try and highlight key bits just so you know what's going on. So first of all, we've got these tags. Now, every tag or element in HTML has an opening tag and a close tag. So when we start HTML, we start by saying this is HTML. So that's what this tag is. It's got these two angle brackets to signify this is the starting tag. And if we look all the way at the end, we've got a closing tag. And the closing tag looks exactly the same, except it's got a slash in it. So everything between this tag, the starting tag, and the end tag is HTML. That's what it's saying. And every HTML page will have that. I mean, in fact, generally, HTML pages have this HTML block, a head block, and a body block. So let's look at the head block here. So we can see everything between these two elements is in the head. And we've got a title and meta description. So these are absolutely core for search engine optimization. And this is what the Yoast plugin for WordPress will insert or alter, amongst many other things. So the title here is what gets displayed in search engines. So in Google, this is the title actually gets shown in the snippet, and the meta description as well. Both of these two feature heavily there. And certainly in WordPress, you really want Yoast to be able to edit those, or another search engine optimization plugin. But what these do broadly in HTML, they're not rendered on the page. As you can see in rendered HTML, we can't see these two at all.